Yes. Commissioner 5801, Commissioner Malone.
Present.
ANC Commissioner 5802, Commissioner Cozart. ANC 5803, Commissioner Lucio, present. ANC 5804, Commissioner Rojas. ANC ANC 5805, Commissioner Boston.
Present.
ANC 5806, Commissioner Torre.
Present.
ANC 5808, Commissioner Fletcher.
Present.
ANC 5809, Commissioner Bokum.
Present.
Chairman Fletcher, we have a quorum with six commissioners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Commissioner Lucio. Commissioners, I will go down now to our agenda review, accepting the agenda. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to do such.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Lucio has made a motion to accept the agenda as presented. It's been seconded by Vice Chair Commissioner Toure. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, all those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, great. Community members, commissioners, guests, welcome to a special ANC meeting. I am going to take just 20 seconds out and just not really apologize, but still apologize about some of the back and forth that occurred at our last meeting. I was out of town for work. I had really messed up internet where I was, so it was in and out, but I am very much squarely where I need to be in my home today to conduct the meeting. So we shouldn't have some of the same little hiccups that we did last week or a couple weeks ago. Also, we're going to continue to do virtual meetings for the remainder of this year as we perfect and enhance our hybrid format going forward. Okay. Is everyone able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Newman, not pointing you out, but I want to make sure you can hear me because everyone else can.
Mr. Newman, I would suggest you check your audio.
You might need to send him a message.
I will.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. Okay, so with that being said, we're here to discuss three matters and three matters only. The first that is before us this evening is the ongoing discussion around Faith United Church of Christ, the hypothermia project, the shelter that's open up in our community. What I want to do now, I don't want to have, I see Mr. Newman's voice. It looks like he's hearing things okay now. Are you with? No? Maybe he jumped off to jump back on. Okay, no problem. So what we're going to do now, I want to turn the floor over just for a quick update from the stakeholders of Faith United Church of Christ. I see Enrique, I see Ebony and others on. I want to give you the floor for a minute or two just to update us as to where we are. Mr. Newman, I see a smile on your face. That means you can hear us now. All right, awesome, sir. All right, so with that being said, I want to turn the floor to you first, Enrique, Ebony, so you could just provide some updates as to where we are. You don't need to rehash the whole situation. I think everyone here pretty much knows where we are, what's going on, but just updates at this time. So Enrique, Ebony, you have the floor first.
Ebony, do you want to speak or? She may be a little bit challenged with kids and the like. So I'll just say, basically, we are just on target to get ready for the start at Faith Church. We still have a few things that we have to put together in place, but that's, we are still moving forward as planned.
So just to be clear here, you have not started yet.
No, we are in the rollout. Mr. Newman can speak maybe better about that, but the rollout does not have us started already. So we had I think we have down for the 15th, I believe.
Okay, Mr. Newman, I'll give you the floor to catch us, to get us up to speed even further.
Sure. Can everyone hear me still? Okay, thank God. All right. So we are looking to start on the 15th of the month, as Enrique has said. We have procured and secured a provider. I believe it's Core, which is an excellent provider. They've been working in our Pep V hotel for the better part of the year, and they do a lot of work on the family side. They'll be the provider that will start on the 15th. Hypothermia has started. And aside from that, we had a very excellent rollout this year, and everything seems to be going just as we would expect it.
Wonderful. That's good to hear.
Mhm.
So transparency always at the top front for me and for all the commissioners here in 5A. I've had conversations with Mr. Newman on Friday. I've spoken to Enrique Ebony. I've spoken to Carmen Williams, president of North Michigan Park Civic Association, and definitely all of my commissioners about this matter. I will state also, sometimes we have, last meeting there was discussion around MOUs, and MOU is something that we do not need for any kind of contract, any kind of agreement of sorts that we want to enter into with a government agency such as DHS. An MOU takes things to another level of legality that we cannot enforce as ANC without the approval of the general counsel of the government agency. So with that being said, I've had conversations with Mr. Newman and others. I believe what is in the best interest of our community at this time is a shared agreement. A shared agreement with North Michigan Park, with Faith United Church of Christ, with members of ANC 5A and DHS around what we all agree will occur at the hypothermia shelter site at Faith United Church of Christ. That is where we are right now. And so we're not going to attempt to get into the weeds of the agreement tonight. What I want to entertain at this time is a motion to move forward with a shared agreement from commissioners. And I'm just letting folks know what I'm hoping that we can get accomplished tonight. You've heard briefly from Mr. Newman and from members of Faith United Church of Christ. So this is where we are right now. I see a question. Commissioner Lucio, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble using the hand raise feature because we're having more technical difficulties, but Mr. Boston and I need to work that out.
Okay.
So, yeah, I do have a question. I put it in the chat. I just wanted to clarify so you can explain to everybody what exactly you mean by a provider. We're not clear on what a provider is in relation to, where's the church's role in this? What's the provider doing, and sort of what's the distinction? So if you can explain that real quick, thank you.
Yes, of course. So the way we run our sites, and just like we run any of our shelter sites, is we have the community partnership is essentially the organization that operates all shelters on behalf of the District of Columbia, at least the single shelters. They in turn hire social agencies who specialize in serving the community, the homeless community. And there are several of these social agencies that we typically refer to as providers, because they are the providers of service to the community. And one of them is CORE. And so it's different than the church, which is basically providing the physical location, but all the services, the cleanup, the things that engage the client that will be done by CORE. You're on mute.
Yep, sorry. So just to be clear, thank you for explaining that. So just to be clear, so the church is providing this physical space, correct? Your organization is essentially providing the people that will use the space, and CORE is providing the services within the space for the people that you're going to have go there.
Yes, more or less, that's correct.
Okay, that's very helpful. And CORE, I'm assuming, is an insured, bonded agency?
CORE is one of the largest agencies in the country that
Yeah.
provides this type of service. So I'm certainly they are. They also have contracts with the District of Columbia and DHS independently of TCP, and meet. So I'm without knowing, but knowing that they've gone through the OCP process, I would speculate the answer is yes.
Okay, and one last question, and I'm done. So are they providing the security, or are you providing the security?
So we will have a security provider, and so CORE is only doing the direct sort of direct care part of the service. We'll have a janitorial provider that does janitorial. We'll have a food provider that provides food, and we'll have a security provider. And I believe at this point it's PSD is the last check we've had on who will be doing the security. So we.
No, I was just gonna say, so have all of those been procured? The security provider, the janitorial provider, and okay.
Everything has been procured. The security will be the last thing to be agreed upon, because we think about security in terms of the system, and so it's just a matter of crossing the T. But the food is already locked in. I think beds have been delivered. I think everything is set up and ready to go, except for the 15th, arriving for the 15th.
So I'm sorry, since you asked that, I'm going to ask another question, and this
Sure.
may be to Enrique. I don't know who's right. So when you say everything's set up, so all of the materials that need to be to make this a shelter are in place? Okay. Okay, and that would include the beds, the linens, all of that type of thing. Okay, thank you so much.
Just for the record, everything is on site.
Everything is on site.
Yeah,
and the linens.
We don't do we ourselves, the church doesn't do the actual setup, but everything is on site.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Fletcher.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. Before I recognize Vice Chair Kwaku Ture, I think it would be beneficial if we could, well, you know what? I'm put a pin in my statement till after. I'll put a pin in it till after. Vice Chair Ture, you have the floor.
Mr. Newman, what does PST stand for? I know it's DC. We use a lot of acronyms.
So the Department of General Services is the agency that takes care of the buildings for the district. The Protective Services Division is the police agency of the Department of General Services. And they're the ones who I believe we're going to bring into this area. Whenever we do any site for, whether it be for hypothermia or any of our day shelters, we send a security team, and they determine they do an assessment. PSD is often the group, the Protective Services Division of DGS, that helps us do the assessment. And from there, they determine what the officer needs are going to be, how many officers, what the level of officers are. And then they make a decision along with us whether we're going to use PSD officers, or if we're going to contract an office in the same way DGS contracts for other buildings. And we usually then will put in a mix of special police officers and security officers, depending on what the site looks like it might require. So for example, we might have special police officers on the check-in and on the perimeter, but they might be assisted by a security officer for, say, doing a bag checks, that sort of thing.
I just, one last question.
Sure.
Will it be armed or unarmed?
We do not usually do armed. No, we don't do armed guards unless it's PSD. PSD is a police department, so they tend to be armed. That's their license to be armed. They're a government agency, police department. But when we bring in security officers, we absolutely do not bring in armed guards.
So, any other questions, commissioners?
I'm sorry, real quick, if I can, just a clarification. Yes. So wait, but I thought you said you were working with PSD. So since you
were. Yeah, so we're working with PSD, and the PSD folks do the assessment. And then I think the way they are at this point, they're planning to be the officers in that particular site that we're talking about. So they will be armed. They would be armed because PSD is always armed. They're required. If they decided to bring in a security agency, then security guards, SPOs are never armed, at least for our sites. You're on mute again, Miss
Sorry,
Lucia.
so I'm trying to take notes as well. And when would you know that for sure, whether they're going to be the ones from PSD armed or not?
Probably this week, and I can definitely follow up in an email to whomever needs to be an email to
Right.
Yeah, I
Commissioner
think that's
Fletcher.
important for us to know. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
You can share if you have all the commissioners' email addresses, share with all. If not,
Sure.
share it with me.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, I see there's one question in the chat. What are the hours for the contractors?
So the contractors will show up an hour before, so they'll be there about 6 o'clock, between 5:30 and 6:30, at least by 6 o'clock. That way they can set the beds up and make everything ready for the clients and get the room ready. When the clients start coming in, they want to have already been there to take care of the preliminaries. When the morning comes and the clients leave at 7 in the morning, the provider usually stays until about 8 to break down everything, to do mop and clean and return the building as if we were never there. And that usually takes about an hour. So 6 to 8, 6 at night to 8 in the morning.
I will say that I would like, as a single member district commissioner, between now and the 15th, if possible, I would like to see the setup.
Sure.
And if other commissioners would welcome that opportunity as well, if you could send some times, or if you want me to lead that, send some times that work for us as a commission. I think that would be important.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. The next thing, a couple more questions here in the chat. Will the ladies have shower facilities? That's first.
Enrique, I'll let you talk to the facilities. You're on mute, sir.
And how many restrooms are available for them?
Just for the record, we do not have shower facilities. That will happen for them based on our understanding after they depart the Faith Church. Then they will be taken to other facilities that will have showers and the like.
So what Enrique is talking about is at 7 in the morning, when the UPO folks come to pick folks up, people will be allowed to go to day centers, and day centers have showers, food. It's an entire situation set up, computer access, case management. It's an entire operation set up for folks during the daytime. I think there was a question about restrooms too.
Correct.
Yeah, there are two I guess multi-individual restrooms in the area, and the units that came to inspect said they were satisfactory. They want to do something that's called staff restroom, and then for the others, one restroom has 3 stalls, the other one has 4 stalls, and then they have
as part of our inspection before we sign on, again, just to recap from the last meeting, when an organization like Faith United Church approaches DHS and offers us a facility, before we agree to it, we send a team out, and not only do we do that security assessment that I talked about, but we also do a code assessment. And for example, one of the sites that we're bringing on in the 15th, in addition to Faith United, the reason it's being brought on late and not early is because there's needs to be repairs to the bathrooms. It's been probably known to the commissioners, we are bringing on, as we often do, CC&V sites over in Federal City. Those are also being repaired. So if the site isn't adequate to meet the needs, we don't open. And so we know we have some sites we won't even open until December because of the facility challenges. Do they meet fire code? There have been sites that we've been offered and we've not taken because they don't meet fire code. So all of those things are done. Fire code, safety. We have a 20-bed men facility we were going to bring on this winter that we're unable to bring on because of fire code. It doesn't meet that code. So all of those things take place before we agree to accept any offers from organizations to use them as shelters.
Okay, thank you very much for that. There's another question. Will the women be supplied sanitary products?
Absolutely. We will provide them sanitary products and basic necessities while they're there.
Okay, and will children be allowed?
No, this is an adult, single women only shelter. If women present with children, they are redirected to the Virginia Williams family site, and usually those folks will get family shelters. This will be for single women only.
And one other thing, Mr. Newman, I think not I think, it was my hope for, well, again, I'm gonna wait. Commissioners, any other questions? Residents, any other questions? I think all the questions asked so far have been great questions. Commissioner, did you have something else? Please.
Yeah, I have one other question. I know that question about women with children got asked before at our last meeting, but I wanted to clarify one thing. Are women with children allowed to board the bus to this facility? Or will that be straightened out before they get on the bus and then they'll be put on the correct bus?
They would definitely not board the bus to this facility.
Thank you, because I think the concern when that was raised before was as if they were turned away from this facility, right? Would they be wandering the streets in this neighborhood? I think was the concern. So
I see.
wanted
No,
to make sure that was clear.
And keep in mind too, one of the things that UPO does in addition to shuttling folks, and I'm not sure if the UPO folks are on this evening, but one of the things that they do in addition to shuttling folks, but they also do outreach. And so one of the things they will do is in between the shuttle runs is address folks outside. And they will look to see if folks needs are being met who may be living in a tent or living in encampments. And if they see families in that, they usually engage those families on the spot and direct them to resources for their benefit. So they won't bring them to a single shelter. That has never happened.
Thank you. Chairman Fletcher, are you okay if I sort of follow up with that with some of the things that are in the chat?
By all means.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Newman.
Yes.
So I think it would be helpful if you could explain a little bit about the process in terms of, because some of the questions that have been raised are about people who are turned away for various reasons, right? About the contraband issue, about children, things. I'm trying to see what else is in the chat. And would it only be the people who board the bus who can come onto the facility, or will people who are able to walk up just on their own be able to come into the facility, right? And then the question starts like, where do they board the bus from, right? So maybe if you could walk through, like, here's what the steps are we take when they board the bus. Here's how we decide where they go. Here's how we decide who does not get on the bus. Does the contraband issue get resolved there? Or does it get resolved here? I think some of that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for one, the way you get into a shelter, let's start there. So we published a shuttle route. And so folks who are in need of shelter, they will be told by members of the community, for example, the advocate group, attorney groups. We will post signs about it inside of places where we know they'll be in the day center. So folks will understand that there's a route, a bus route, if you will, that takes people to various shelters, picks them up, takes them wherever the vacant beds are. Every night we have a bed count that goes on through the evening. We do a census all through the evening as to how many people are at a particular site. So for example, you may decide, I am very comfortable with going to site X because I go there every winter and it's near where I live outside in my tent. And you may decide to walk up, in which case that's your right to do, and you present yourself, or you may ask the bus to take you there. The bus, the UPO bus, is tied into the census tracker along with DHS and all the shelters. In fact, they actually are the ones who publish the census every morning at 9 o'clock. We get the summary thereabouts 9 o'clock as to what sites were at what capacity the night before. And so if, for example, all the shelters, your shelter was filled, let's say Faith United had hit their 30 by 8 o'clock, then the van won't bring anybody around anymore. They know. And so if the van drops off 20 people and 10 people walk up, the census will still reflect that there's been 30 people. And so it will cease bringing more folks. If somebody shows up, 31, 32, 33 shows up, walks up and notices there's no more beds, then the van will come pick them up and take them to the next shelter that has a vacancy. The driver of the van, in addition to providing blankets, towels, life-saving supplies, what they do not do is inspections, security inspections. That happens at the site. And so if a person presents themselves with some form of contraband, we don't bar the person, we bar the contraband. So we basically take it from them. The security officers will make a decision about that and allow them to come. If they really are insistent on keeping their contraband, then they're free to take the van back to wherever else they go. That generally has not been a problem. People tend to understand that when they show up. Does that help? I'm not sure if that's detailed enough. I could go further if you.
No, I think that's helpful. I'm trying to look and see if there's any other additional. There's one question about other written rules that the participants are held
Yeah.
to.
Yes, there's program rules, and so every folks who come into the site will be given a sort of program rules, and which basically is it's an agreement that says you agree to not be distracting, don't do drugs. It's not a comprehensive. It's not as comprehensive. You're not required to do case management or any of those sorts of things, but we do hold folks accountable to a certain behavior standard.
And Mr. Newman, there's another question. Two more questions actually.
Sure.
So are the buses available in all 4 quadrants of the city?
Yep.
Okay. And next, if they choose not to leave on the bus, they can walk. Can they walk away?
Yes, it's a service, not a again.
But they can't walk away into the community. They can walk away and go back inside the shelter, right? They're not just going to be let out in the community.
Oh, you mean like if somebody shows up and they're waiting for a bus to take them somewhere else, can they wait inside? Is that the question?
Correct. I mean, well, that's what I'm deciphering, garnering from the question. I think, just don't want folks who are part of the shelter to not go on a bus and then just maybe end up in the neighborhood, end up in the community. And if Carmen, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind is there's some general principles that DHS operates on. And one of the things is DHS doesn't force people to do anything. And most of these folks are already these are residents. These are folks who are already in the community. And so if folks want to leave and walk and go back to wherever it is they came from, take the metro, go to Ben's, they're allowed like any other resident, any other citizen to do whatever they want. We're offering an opportunity for them to be indoors. If they come in and let's say I'm waiting for the bus to take me back, certainly they're not going to make anyone wait outside, right? So the folks who will be indoors waiting for the bus, that's we won't make them wait outside.
Now, Mr. Newman, I have a little issue with that.
Sure.
Put yourselves in a neighbor's, a resident's mindset.
Yep.
I won't even use my own family, because I won't even do that. But think about what you just said.
Yep.
Basically, you just said that any one of the women who are in the shelter, they could just go into the community on their own volition. They don't know anyone in the community. Why would they be walking in the community? I think that's the spirit and thrust of where Carmen and others are coming from. And if I'm misspeaking, Carmen, please, by all means, interject. But I know that's a concern for me, especially as we are dealing with the rise in violence across the city. So that's just, how do we handle that?
So what I tell folks is if there's a crime issue, that's an MPD call. If it's a crime issue that's originating from the site, then certainly you should reach out to DHS, and we will do what we can as neighbors to help identify and do what we can to address that trying to help just with the police and the neighbors to figure out who's causing the crime or who's might be the source of the concern if we can. However.
No, one thing, no one is saying that we are stopping folks from walking. These are just concerns that
I understand
members of our community are having. That's it. It's not a personal thing. This is
Yeah, no, I'm not taking.
concerns.
I understand. We're just talking questions for the sake of questions. I just want to point out though that DHS is the Department of Human Services. We are not DYRS. We're not DOC. We're not the police department. We are not in the business of restricting people's movements no more than anyone else is. We can't tell people, we're not holding folks in some sort of quasi prison state. We're not holding folks in a jail. We're not locking people in. You're not submitting to give up civil rights when you check into a shelter. Checking into a shelter does not mean that you are no longer entitled to the same rights as every other citizen. It means you don't have to sleep on the street. And so, to the extent anyone can walk into a neighborhood and walk down the street, that doesn't change. What we find is there is no, I mean, we've not had the kind of problems with people really on a widespread basis engaging with the sort of things I think most people are afraid of. We have had on occasion, and again, full transparency, there has been on occasion where we've had some community issues, but nothing of the sort that would cause it's one-offs, not widespread. I guess that's the better way of saying it.
Yeah, and I'm taking this as a personal privilege as the chair.
Absolutely.
I see the comments in the chat. For the comments in the chat, I am not saying that I'm against any of this, but we have to make sure that we're answering questions for everyone in the community.
Yep.
That's what this meeting is for. So for those in the chat, please understand that. I see Vice Chairman Ture, and then I also see Commissioner Lucio.
Oh, okay. So I just had this comment that and this is for everyone, citizens, all of my fellow commissioners. We're talking about hypothermia. It is documented, even with the District of Columbia Police Department, that hypothermia occurs when it's 35 degrees or below. There is very little crime, if any, that occurs in this city when it's that type of temperature. I've worked in homeless services prior to becoming a trial attorney for over 4 years. When people go to the hypothermia centers, they are going to get warm, to escape climates. They don't walk in freezing temperatures to another and walk in community. It just doesn't happen. There are people who will be mentally ill, or FD13, which is a term that they use when someone's acutely psychotic and they need to be addressed. Even those people who are FD12s, I'm sorry, even those people are generally fearful of 35 degrees and below temperatures. That's what we're talking about. So I don't think there's a documented case where someone walked away from a shelter in 35-degree weather and committed various crimes in the city. It just doesn't happen. Talking about freezing temperatures. I'm not saying nothing can't, it won't happen, but I just haven't seen it in my years of service in this city, in my years of dealing directly with the homeless population. It just doesn't happen. This city has, when they couldn't find hypothermia locations, what they did, this city ended up putting people on metro buses and idling metro buses at Union Station and various locations around town. And the homeless people unhoused slept on the metro buses overnight until the temperatures went down. And my last comment is about contraband. There's a such thing as contraband, and then there's illegal contraband. So we need to make a distinction. If you're going into a shelter or a hypothermia center, contraband could be you have 3 or 4 grocery carts full of items and you can't bring that into the church. or you have, and they all could be legal. These are your personal items, and or you could have books and various sundries that you can't bring into the shelter. And then there's illegal contraband. Most unhoused people have just regular contraband, and they also take medications for diabetes, for cancer. They need those drugs to take on a regular basis. So someone could have pharmaceutical drugs, but most unhoused people typically will not have illegal. Some may have alcohol, but that contraband would be segregated away from those people by the security team. I know this from personal and professional experience before I became a trial attorney not long ago. So those are my only comments.
Mr. Torre, you're dead on all of that. I mean, when we use the word contraband, we could be talking about 3 bags instead of 2 bags. I think when folks are concerned about illegal drugs and such, mostly what folks are going to have on them is alcohol and marijuana. That's the overwhelming things we find, and both of which are legal in the district,
right, and
or
most people
not
on
criminal.
this line drink alcohol when it get cold. Even we have our
Yeah.
own houses. We don't have to be unhoused to drink alcohol.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Teray. Any other comments? Look, I know that this is a topic that folks have a lot of questions about, so I'm trying my best not to mute anybody or stop anyone, but we've been on this topic now for about 30, 40 minutes or so. I just want to be cognizant of that as we continue to take the questions, and want to make sure everyone gets all their questions answered. Just want a time check. So, Mr. Newman, there are a few more questions in the chat.
Yes.
I believe Commissioner Lucio has a comment as well.
I
So-
do, and real quick, and then Mr. Newman, one of the questions in the chat is how people can help. So I think that would be helpful to know too. Chairman Fletcher, thank you for this discussion. I think this has been very helpful, and I don't think we're going to get all of our questions answered tonight. So I do think I think we're at a point where it's time to move on, and I'd like to make a motion that we develop a group to come up with a shared agreement with Faith United Church, the ANC, and North Michigan Park Civic Association. I'd also like to suggest that we invite maybe a resident or two to be a part of that discussion, to come up with a community agreement. So I would just like to make a motion that we develop a community agreement to be presented at our November meeting on this issue to vote on it.
I second Commissioner Lucio's motion.
Okay, Commissioner, so a motion's been made by Commissioner Lucio for us to create a shared agreement with ANC 5A, Faith United Church, and excuse me, and members of members of the North Michigan Park Civic Association. And it's been seconded by Vice Chair Teray. And now we're ready for the question. Make sure there's no, okay. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. So we will move forward with a shared agreement between ANC 5A, Faith United Church of Christ, and members, residents within North Michigan Park Civic Association. And so what we'll do is, timing is a big part of life. And so we have our executive meeting this Wednesday, which is a public meeting. And so we will discuss this at the public meeting. And soon after, we will come up with the names for this group task force. And I will report out, because it falls within my single member district, at our November ANC meeting. Mr. Newman, I hope if nothing else, you learn when you come to North Michigan Park, you gotta do things the right way. You gotta go cradle to grave, right? And let everyone else know across the city, North Michigan Park, we mean business. We want to protect our community. We want to serve the community. but you gotta come to ANC 5A first and foremost and get our support and approval. Please let that be known all across the government agencies in the District of Columbia, for those that don't know.
Mr. Fletcher, I completely appreciate that. You know, this is the first year we have done this without DPR sites. And as such, we have had a lot of lessons learned in various different ways at different constituencies and different, there's a lot of lessons learned. We've already started debriefing now how we're going to do this differently next year, and this is certainly one of those areas where I think we could have done a different approach than what we have done. With that said, Mr. Fletcher, I think I offered to you on the phone on Friday. I would certainly be willing to come back, at some point in November, come back in January or December. We can make frequent, if at your invitation, we can certainly come back and address your concerns directly. Because I know once the women show up, you may have other concerns.
Correct.
And I think you have our actual contact. So when the women come up at the day something happens that causes you pause, please, 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 you can call me. You can call Quinn Greer, who I think's number I can make sure you all have. Quinn and the team, they will be making regular rounds, and we will always be at your disposal, as we have with all the members of the communities where we've done this in years past. Certainly, Mr. Fletcher, I appreciate your words. I appreciate Faith United Church and the community, and we will endeavor and engage and try to engage you all and be good neighbors as your government.
And I think you said those last two words were some of the most important, good neighbors.
Absolutely.
The good neighbor policy. So we appreciate that. And so what I will say is here in ANC 5A, North Michigan Park, we do want to see you back. The more we see you, the better it is for everybody. So I will be in touch regarding that going forward, because we want this to be a relationship, right?
Agreed.
And that means we have to have constant communication for a relationship to continue. So thank you very much. Commissioner Lucio, I do see your hand. You have the floor.
Thanks. I just wanted to get a clarification based on something you said, because my motion said that we would have an agreement to share at the November meeting, but that's not exactly what you said when you talked. So are you still planning to have an agreement to share at the November meeting?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because that wasn't clear with how you said it. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
that we're
absolutely.
all...
Yeah,
okay.
no, I appreciate that. Absolutely. We will have an agreement to share at the November ANC meeting, which is November 29th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for this? Otherwise, I would like us to move on. Okay, and we will discuss more about what the contents of the shared agreement will be in its entirety at the November meeting. Donna, I want to make sure I see your question in the chat as well. I don't want you to feel as if it's been left unrecognized, unheard. Okay, so moving on, I want to turn the floor over to our treasurer. Been working tirelessly. Mr. Newman, you are dismissed.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay, but you may have some other things to do as well.
No, get out when the getting is good is good advice. So I'm going to thank you all for your
I'm with
time.
you, Mr. Newman.
Smart man.
All right. Okay, we are leaving also, Faith Church, I guess.
Oh, you leaving too? Well, Enrique, you don't want to stay and finish out the meeting? I'm joking. It's okay.
We don't do that, treasury.
All right, no problem.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so Commissioner Bukum, you have the floor. Let's take this home.
Yep, so we're just discussing our finances. If anyone else is welcome to stay or leave as they prefer. We have...
Which one do you want to start with? Because I'll share my screen.
Oh, thanks. A Q3 quarterly financial report. No. Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. So as you can see, our balance forward was 69,183.76, and the disbursements were $813.34. in communications and $10 in bank charges for a total of $823.34. And we ended up with 68,360.42 at the end of Q3. So do we need to vote on this?
We do. So commissioners, I will entertain a motion to accept the quarterly financial report, the third quarter financial report at this time.
I'll make a motion to accept the third quarter financial report for fiscal year 23.
Okay, so commissioners, a motion has been made by Commissioner Lucio to accept the third quarter financial report. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Boston. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Commissioner Bukum, you have the floor still.
Okay, so the next would be the fourth quarter of FY23 quarterly financial report. And the fourth quarter is the period that ends of September 30th. Okay, so not much happened. Not much happened in Q4. It was the summertime and we only had 3 months of bank charges. That was, and we had an adjustment made by the office of the ANC for something that was from 2017 that had been sitting on the books as a discrepancy that had been left sitting there since 2017. So the office of the ANC made that adjustment for us, which resulted in a $4,474.93 reduction.
Wait a minute, just to clarify, I'm sorry, real quick, 4,459.
Yeah,
right?
sorry,
93.
59.93. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Total, yeah. Sorry, that plus the bank charges, and it totaled 4,474.93.
Thank you for clarifying.
And so the ending balance, which was the balance as of 9/30, as of September 30th, was 63,885.49.
Chairman Fletcher, I make a motion to accept the fourth quarter or fiscal year 23 financial report.
Okay, great. A motion has been made by Commissioner Lucio to accept the fourth quarter quarterly financial report. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Boston has seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Commissioner Bukum, you still have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is the FY24 budget. And if Commissioner Lucio, if you could share that as well.
This is the right one, correct?
Yep. Okay, so yeah, if you could look on the left-hand side, communication, 8,000. This is just the maximum that we are proposing to be spent. So office supplies, equipment and printing, 9,000, grants, 15,000, local transportation, 500, purchase of service, 2,000, bank charges, 500, and other 500. These are just, like I said, suggested caps for our spending of these items. So the total spending would be around 35,500 as a maximum. That's the proposal.
Okay. And I know that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Lucio.
I'm sorry, one quick question. So, and this is not much different than we've done in the past, correct? This is about the same, because I know we made some changes in January and February because we did away with the cell phones and other things like that. So I just wasn't sure if this was about the same or what, if there's
It is about the same. And some of the expenses fell under communication that I think were like email and perhaps website also fell under communication.
So MailChimp and website are under communication.
That's
Well,
my understanding.
actually, it'd probably be Zoom as well, right? So Zoom would be under communication, MailChimp would be under communication, and then the website. Oh, would probably be under communication, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I noticed on the checking account is when the ANC categorized those expenses, that's how they categorize them.
Okay,
Awesome.
because I know we have an outstanding bill right now with the website that we have to pay.
Okay.
It was sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our Zoom account is up to date. I know that because we paid that at the beginning of the year. And actually our MailChimp, we don't have a fee for our MailChimp.
Okay.
So
Well, we might not end up spending all this money
At least it's contemplated.
available.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 budget.
Okay, commissioners, a motion been made by Commissioner Lucio to accept the 2024 budget. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Boston. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed say nay. All right. Any abstentions? Okay, so the ayes have it. Our budget has been approved for this fiscal year. Okay, so we've handled some business.
Wait, we haven't voted on it yet.
All
Yeah, we did.
yeah, we did.
Oh, I didn't hear everybody say, yeah,
Aye.
nay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I was like, I had to go back in my memory bank. I was like, nah.
Wait, did you call for a vote? I mean, did
Yeah.
you say? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I did not hear you
You're
at
probably
all.
taking notes. You
I
got
am.
multiple, you know.
I'm
you got
sorry.
multiple things. No
That's my
problem.
fault. I
No
didn't hear it all.
problem.
So I didn't get to vote. That's okay.
Did you disapprove?
No, it's fine.
Okay, so so we voted on the budget. We're good, commissioners. Thank you all for taking time out. We've handled the necessary business of this evening. Any questions before I entertain a motion to adjourn? If there are no questions, no comments, I will
Oh,
entertain.
Chairman Fletcher, I just want to make a quick note. I know you said at the beginning.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but just to make sure, remind people that our November meeting is a week later than it normally is.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Lucia. Once again, because of Thanksgiving, we will have our normal ANC meeting, not the 4th Wednesday, it'll be the 5th Wednesday, which is November 29th at the same time, 6:45. All right, for the record. So thank you all, commissioners, for your work this evening, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Wait, did we do a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, you're right. No, you're right. So no, let's always do it proper. Entertain a motion, and then I'll get a second.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, motion.
I'll do a
by
second.
Commissioner Bukum to adjourn. It's been seconded by Commissioner Lucio. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, former Commissioner Sandy Washington, for sticking with us. For the record, bye-bye.